Hey, everybody, I just want to note for the court that position 13 that's on the calendar, that case was designated as a bind over yesterday, and it shouldn't be on today's calendar since it already has a bond. It's supposed to go directly to SAP.
Oh, okay.
And as well, position 9 has been updated. I filed an amended charge, so the counts are going to be battery, family violence, and an additional count of cruelty to children in the third.
And that's James Hilton?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Law, and we are going to begin with our Fulton County State Expedited Accusation Calendar. This is a list of new misdemeanor cases in which individuals were arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Upon being booked in, their cases have been recently accused by the prosecutor, which would be the Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County. Hence, this would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. When I call each case, I will let you know what's your new case number, what are the charges brought against you, appoint counsel to represent you if necessary, and also determine a bond in your case. For some of you, you may receive a specific reset court date. And Ms. Bridgewater, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. That reset date is going to be April the 25th.
April 25th at 9 a.m. And so certain cases may be reset to that date. Also, during the course of determining your bond, we also speak with our pretrial officer to determine what is your criminal history record if you do have one. So courtroom 2, who do we have? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. We have position 2.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, also for those of you who are defendants in cases today, please remember to exercise your right to remain silent. We're going to let, if you decide to say something during the course of these proceedings, your statements will not only be recorded and live streamed, but they will also be documented by the prosecutor to be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to counsel, and like I said, we will appoint counsel to represent you if you can't afford one. I have State versus Ella Camden, 23 CR 002220A, accused of simple battery domestic violence from April 10th, 2023. Ms. Camden, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Wills. Mr. Tucson, any priors?
First arrest.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Falk, good afternoon. What is your recommendation?
We had an opportunity to speak with the victim in this case. That's Mr. Edward Camden, the father of Miss Ella Camden. Mr. Camden said that the defendant has in the past been rude and disrespectful, but this is the first time that the defendant has been physically violent with him. As you know, this happened on April 10th, at which point the defendant threw a water bottle at him and swung at him twice, hitting him once in the back. And this was witnessed by two children, 12-year-old EC and 18-year-old EC. We also spoke to the victim, and he stated that the defendant has called him from jail, cursing him out and stating that she was going to call the police on him when she is released. Although the victim, Mr. Camden, has stated that he is not in fear of her and wants contact, we do have some concerns, being that there is a lack of cooling off period. This didn't even happen 24 hours ago. And the fact that she's actually calling from the jail and stating she's going to essentially set him up and get him arrested by the police. We do have some serious concerns that putting them back in the same environment together is probably not the best idea. For those reasons, the state is recommending at this time a $2,000 surety bond, stay away from 359 Kegel Road, no further contact with Edward Camden, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1 day anger awareness. We would also like to sound from Mr. Edward Camden. Thank you.
Mr. Camden is present. Mr. Camden, this is Judge Law. If you would like to contribute to the proceeding, you would need to unmute and start your video. Otherwise, we can move on. Mr. Camden, I see you've unmuted. Did you want to contribute? All right. While we're waiting, Ms. Wills, what's your recommendation?
To note that my client is only 17 years old. This was an incident that happened between herself and her father. As far as calling the police on her dad, I'm not sure she might have a valid claim to report to law enforcement. However, we would request a signature bond. She does not have any history. I spoke with her. She does deny the allegations, but she did state that she would have somewhere else to go, potentially. That's not home. So, but she is 17 years old, so it might be a difficult situation for her.
What is the alternative location, and is there an adult relative who can take her in?
I'm not sure what the location is. She did tell me that her mother was willing to pick her up from jail and take her somewhere, but I am not sure where that residence would be.
All right. Mr. Camden? All right. And what is the mother's name?
It is, I believe it's Melanie Camden.
And do you know if she lives in Atlanta or is she local?
Yeah, she lives at the same residence, the incident, where the incident location. So
She lives with the alleged victim?
yes. She
Okay.
lives with her parents at home.
Okay. I guess that won't work.
No, her mother, she told me that her mother was willing to pick her up from jail and might be able to take her somewhere else, not back to their residence. I just don't know where that residence is. But yeah, she was living at home with her parents.
All right, presently, I'm going to grant the state's request for a $2,000 surety bond, no further contact with Edward Camden, and to stay away from 359 Kegel Road in Rossville, Georgia. Within 30 days of bonding out, she would need to update the court with her new address. I'll leave this case open right now for this calendar. If I can get verification of where Mrs. Melanie Camden plans to place her 17-year-old daughter, I need a specific address. And that Miss Melanie Camden would need to be a co-signer to the bond, which would then be amended to a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial. Again, no further contact with Edward Camden and to stay away from the incident location. In either event, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. So presently it's a $2,000 bond. Reset date is April 25th. And if Miss Ella Camden is looking forward to staying in jail for the next 2 weeks, it would behoove us to know where mom plans to put her. Otherwise, I cannot release her without knowing where she's going.
Understood, Your Honor. Would it be possible? Would it be possible for me to have a breakout room to speak with my client?
Eventually, when we go through the other cases. Thank you. Next case, please.
Station number 8, Miss Simone Gilmore.
Thank you. Deputy Milton, do you have anyone else besides Ms. Gilmore there?
She's the only one, Your Honor.
All right. This is State versus Simone Amber Gilmore, position number 8, case number 23 CR 002-043F. Ms. Gilmore has been accused of simple battery, domestic violence, and disorderly conduct from April 3rd, 2023. Ms. Gilmore, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you at the present time is Ms. Wills. All right, and yes, Ms. Wills. Excuse me, Mr. Howard. Is this the first arrest?
I think she's been on this calendar like 3 times. I don't know what's going on.
This is for a status
Your Honor.
update.
All right,
It was on the calendar yesterday, and I think there was some issues with defects or someone picking her up. Ms. Falk, can you shed some light on this, please?
Yes, so my understanding is that as part of her bond, she was supposed to be picked up by DFACS. Apparently, once DFACS got involved, they indicated that they needed a third-party transport to pick her up. DFACS will not pick her up on their own. Judge Morrow was attempting to modify the bond or try to find someone to pick her up from DFACS. Apparently, Ms. Wills became involved and stated there had been several calls back and forth to DFACS, but DFACS doesn't have a third party to pick her up. So that's where we are right now. My understanding from yesterday was that Derek Howard was going to be contacted, and hopefully we could get some resolution. So Judge Morrow had it placed back on the calendar today to see if we had any movement.
okay. And this order was signed back in April 4th, so it's been about 6 days now. 6-7 days. Ms. Wills, did you just come in with representation?
I have been representing her since she had her first or her initial bond hearing, Your Honor. Both myself and Mr. Howard have been working on this matter together. I actually just received a phone call since being in court from Miss Letitia Stevens, who is a supervisor at Clayton County DFACS. But since I was in court, I was unable to take her call. She did state that she was going to see whether or not another case manager would be willing to pick up Simone or Miss Gilmore today. But that's the last thing that I heard from her.
I'm going to be doing the C calendar tomorrow as well. And so we're going to reset this one last time. Please instruct these facts that they must pick her up today. This has gone on long enough. Reset to 4:12 and 2 p.m. And whoever you speak to, please let them know. If you need a court order, please let me know.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Position 10, Ms. Jefferson.
Shakina Jefferson has been accused of simple battery, case number 23 CR 002231C. Ms. Jefferson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Miss McLeod? Oh, Miss Kim, okay.
Yes.
All right. And based on what I can see, this is Ms. Jefferson. All right, I see this is a 4th arrest. Does she have any open cases, Mr. Howard?
2023 ag assault. That's open in Gwinnett. Simple battery and obstruction, and the open ag assault in Cobb County.
So she's going to open ag assault in Gwinnett and Cobb County?
It's,
I think so. I
it's
might
not-
have worded it wrong.
It's the opposite. She has a open simple battery and obstruction out of Gwinnett and an open ag assault in Cobb. I wasn't able to get the information for the Gwinnett open case. However, I did speak to the district attorney's office, and I did give the prosecutor on the case a call, and I was able to find out that that case has currently not been indicted. It has an electronic warrant number of 23-W-447. it has not been indicted as of yet, and from what they were willing to tell me, it does seem to be different victim in that case. For this case, Your Honor, and just to clarify for the record, there should be 2 counts of simple battery. It occurred on April 10th, 2023 at the Best Western Hotel located at 301 North Central Avenue in Hapeville at about, I believe, 8:33 in the morning. The defendant in this case went into the office to speak to one of the victims in this case, Donette Levin, about her paycheck, a discrepancy in her paycheck, and the Miss Levin's sister was there. Miss Monica Sawyer was there as well. And then an altercation ensued because of her disagreements about the discrepancies, and she struck Miss Sawyer in the face with a closed fist. Miss Levin tried to jump in and break up the fight, and when she attempted to do so, she was struck by the defendant in this case as well. Based on this defendant's history with these 4 cycles, 2 open violent offenses, we do have concern about the risk of reoffense in this case and the particular dangers to these individual victims. I believe they at least one of them works at that location with the defendant in this case, and we were not able to make contact with either of those victims today. However, Your Honor, it's for these reasons that the state is going to be requesting a $5,000 total surety. That's $2,500 per count. No further contact with either victim, Donette Levin, DONNETT LEVIN, or Monica Sawyer, Monica MONICA Sawyer SAWYER. Stay away from that Best Western Hotel at the address indicated on the record. 2 weeks of anger management, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law.
Thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Jefferson is 25 years old. She was born in New York, but she moved here when she was 13 years old. Her dad is here in Duluth, Georgia, Gwinnett County. And Your Honor, she has 3 years old little boy at home right now who needs his mother. She has been working at Hampton Inn at front desk. However, she's afraid that she's going to lose a job because of this incident, Your Honor. Currently, after completing her GED, she has been studying at Gwinnett Tech College for medical field, trying to be get involved in new career. However, it has not been working out that well. And because her pay is very low, at this point, she's qualified for public defender services. So our office will continuously represent her, and she needs signature on bond. And yet, if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond because of open cases, we would like to request for maximum $2,000 good bond, $1,000 for each charge. Thank you.
Your Honor, even though we weren't able to make contact, the state would still like the court to sound for either of the victims in this case.
Donette Levin and Monica Sawyer. Monica Sawyer, Donette Levin. On each count of simple battery is going to be $1,250. That's a total of $2,500 surety bond. No further contact with Donette Levin and Monica Sawyer. To stay 200 yards away and do not communicate with them in person through a computer device, a phone, or through third party, or even on social media. You have to stay 200 yards away from 301 North Central Avenue in Hapeville, which would be the Hampton Inn hotel. That includes staying away from the sidewalks and the parking lot. Any attempt to communicate with your employer or past employer, I don't know what the status is, could result in you being back in jail. Thank you. Next court date is April 25th.
Position 11, Ms. Johnson.
Sydney Johnson's accused of simple battery and criminal trespass causing damage to property from April 10th, case number 23CR 002232J. Ms. Johnson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. And Mr. Howard, I know you had sent me some information. First arrest. Okay, got it. Thank you. Miss Duncan or Miss,
Hello.
yes,
This
no, hang on. Who is the prosecutor, please?
this is my case, Your
Oh,
Honor.
Miss Duncan. Okay, got it. Yes, Miss Duncan?
In this case, it occurred on April 10th, 2023 at 744 Pelham Street. That's Pelham. In this case, the victim is Brandon Lyons. That's Brandon, common spelling, last name Lyons. It's indicated that Mr. Lyons is dating the defendant's mother, and there was some sort of dispute that occurred, and the defendant in this case punched him in the head twice and struck his vehicle, causing damage to the front. There is video footage of this incident that was shown to officers. Officers did confirm that that video showed the victim in this case being hit by the defendant and the truck being hit and the damages that were caused. We were able to speak with this victim today through our victim witness advocate. He indicated that he's been with her mother for almost a year. He lives with the mother and the defendant does not live with them. She lives in Maryland. He has no domestic violence or any violent history with this particular defendant. However, he's not sure what provoked her to act the way that she did. He says that she started to act irate and he was trying to defuse whatever was going on, and she got upset and started to bang his truck, causing the left panel to have damage. She hit him in the head twice, and he stated to our victim witness advocate that his neck is sore. He indicated that he wanted no contact and to stay away from his home, which is the 744 Pelham Street address. He did request restitution. However, he's going to be providing receipts about the estimated cost of the repairs for those damages, Your Honor. Even though the state is aware that this defendant does have limited history, we do have concerns about the risk of reoffense, since this seems to be a random attack of violence. And we do have also concerns about this defendant's tie to the community, given that the victim has indicated that this defendant does in fact live in Maryland. It's for these reasons, Your Honor, given that this was a violent attack on the person and the property of this particular victim, we're going to be requesting a $2,000 total surety, $1,500 surety on the simple battery, and $500 on the criminal trespass damage to property. No further contact with the victim in this case, to stay away from the incident location, as previously stated on the record. No alcohol, drugs, and weapons. 1-day anger awareness, and no further violations of Georgia law. And when the time is appropriate, the state would like the court to sound for the victim, as I believe he is on the line.
He is. Mr. Lyons, did you want to contribute to these proceedings? Can't hear you.
He's muted.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Good afternoon, everyone.
We'll need to put you under oath, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I do.
Do you live at the Pelham Street location?
I do.
And who are the occupants of that property?
Myself, my girlfriend, Rashawn, and our other daughter, Charlie Medley.
Okay. And other than what you've already told the prosecutors, is there anything else new you'd like to add? Let us know.
I think I pretty much gave her, the information as it fits right now. I would also request, though, that she cease contact with not only myself, but also with Rashawn Medley and also with Charlie Medley, please. Because it's unfortunately, we have been trying our best and with success to this point to curtail Charlie's behavior. And this incident right here, I don't want her to relapse or anything like that. She's doing a very good job. She's an A student. She's a very good young lady. And this right here, for me personally, being involved with her, I don't want to see my kids crying. And that was very disappointing last night, especially for no reason with no warrant. None at all. We just came back from a 3-day vacation. This shouldn't, nobody could have seen this coming. And like I said, there's no reason why this happened. So I don't want contact with myself, with Sean, or with Charlie, please, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Lyons.
Hello.
Yes, Ms. Rashawn, I see you've been repeatedly trying to get my attention, and I needed to let Mr. Lyons finish before you interrupted.
I'm so sorry, my phone acting up, y'all.
I can't hear you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I have a current case. I'm her mom, and
You need to raise your right hand.
raise my right hand.
Do you solemnly swear the information you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I do.
What would you like to tell me?
Yes, Cindy has anger problems and she doesn't know how to express herself with words. She uses violence. We currently go to court on April the 18th here in Atlanta, Georgia, from her busting me in my mouth, had to be glued up in 2020. This is the case number here, and I'm asking for a protection order because when you all let her out,
I can't see a thing. You can put the paper down.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Yes, but we have court in front of Judge Myra X. Dixon on the 18th of this month from her busting me in my mouth. She's very violent and her spurts come out of nowhere. Everything was just fine. And she just got up and just went off. I was talking to her sister.
Miss Rashawn, does she live in Georgia? Nope, we lost her. All right.
No, she doesn't, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lyons. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to object to another case which is irrelevant to this case. Ms. Johnson is only 18 years old, Your Honor. She graduated from Friendly High School in Maryland with a successful honor. Her GPA was very good. And right now she's going to trade school to be cosmetology licensed beautician. She is actually hairstylist as right now. She's working 5 days a week. She's very responsible. And her father is, I believe, in the court. I mean, here, because her father is coming in to the Zoom hearing. Yvonne Johnson is willing to co-sign her. She has to come back to Maryland. That's where she resides with her father, 9905 Jacqueline Drive, Fort Washington, Maryland. And her father is willing to make sure that she comes to the court. Your Honor, we would like to request for signature on bond, considering her age and her situation. Thank you.
And Your Honor, I'd just like to say that those prior instances that the victim and the witnesses were speaking of are relevant in this case to the prior difficulties and the risk of reoffense that we were talking about, given her violent history as well. So we would ask that you take those into account.
All right. Mr. What was his, what did he say his name was? Yvonne Johnson?
Yes.
All right, you're at Datetree House Music iPhone?
No, that's, I don't know why that's on there.
All right, Mr. Johnson, please raise your right
Yeah.
hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Where are you currently located?
9905 Jacqueline Drive, Fort
You're
Washington.
in Maryland?
Yes, Fort
Okay.
Washington.
And well, Sydney Johnson can't go back and live with Mr. Lyons and Miss Rashawn, so you're
She
gonna
never did. She never did. They came, she went on a vacation with them in New Orleans and they.
All right, so Mr. Johnson, I'm going to grant a signature bond, but it's going to be a $7,500 signature bond. It's going to be $4,500 on the simple battery, and it's going to be $3,000 on the trespass causing damage to property. She doesn't have to pay anything for the bond today. I'm going to allow for telephonic reporting through the pretrial services. However, you will have to co-sign the bond.
Yes.
Which means you're going to have to make a trip down to the pretrial services in Fulton County, Georgia. Sign her out, because she can only be released to your custody.
Well, I probably be in the morning. So y'all gonna let out when I get there?
Yes, it's some of the pleasures of being a parent, but it's
Yeah.
7,500 signature bond through pretrial telephonic reporting. She is to be released into the custody of Mr. Yvonne Johnson. And Mr. Johnson, you may have to remain in the state if she has another hearing coming up before Judge Dixon. So you may want to keep track of where she needs to be for her next court appearance. No contact with Brandon Lyons, no contact with Miss Rashawn. Miss Rashawn, what's your last name? Mr. Lyons, what's your last name?
I think Medley, Medley.
Okay, no contact with Miss Rashawn Medley to stay away from the 744 Pelham Street, Northwest Atlanta. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. Your next just a minute. Your next court date will be set to you at the Jacqueline Drive location in Maryland, and you probably have to appear via Zoom for your next court date. Please make sure that you comply with the conditions of your bond. One of no contact means that you cannot communicate with Ms. Medley and Mr. Lyons, either in person, through a third party, through a phone, a computer device, and even on social media. If you violate any of these conditions, a felony warrant could be issued for your arrest, and those go nationwide.
Okay.
Right.
So
Yes, Mr. Lyons, what was your question?
Yes, Your Honor. Also, could you include our daughter, Charlie Medley, in that no contact, please?
your door.
She's a minor. She's only 13.
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to just simply say with all the occupants of 744 Pelham Street, Northwest Atlanta, she cannot have any contact with you. All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Johnson, do you have any questions about the bond?
So I need to come there. I can come tomorrow morning, right?
You can come wherever you want. She stays in the jail as long as you're not here.
Okay, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow morning.
All right.
What's the co-signer name?
I think it's Ivan Johnson. Is that correct?
Yvonne Johnson.
Yeah, Ivan
I-V-A-N.
Johnson. IVAN.
Well, it depends which side of the Atlantic Ocean you're on. Certain side is Ivan, certain side's Ivan. So
Yeah, they do call me that both too, so it don't matter. But it's Ivan. But some people say Ivy,
So
all kinds of stuff, Alvin and everything else. So
Mr.
waiving the utility bill, right?
Yes, I'm waiving the utility bill. Thank you. All right,
You say
Mr.
what
Johnson, you would need to reach out to pretrial services. Mr. Howard, could you put the address in the chat to Datetree House Music's iPhone so that Mr. Johnson has an address where he can go to get his cosigner information drawn up? Thank you.
Come on, Johnson.
All right. Courtroom 2, we have concluded.
Position 15, Ms. Wolfer.
Repeat the number, please.
15.
Oh, I see. Thank you. This is State versus Brittany Wolfer, 23 CR 002236B. Ms. Wolfer has been accused of the following traffic-related matters: driving, improper erratic lane change, failure to report striking a fixed object, DUI, driving under the influence of alcohol per se, reckless driving, and DUI, driving under the influence of alcohol less safe, arising from an incident of April 10th, 2023. Ms. Wolfer, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. That be correct?
I think it's her first arrest, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, that's what we have. Ms. Duncan, would that be correct? Her first arrest?
Yes, in the criminal history, this would be her first arrest.
All right. And what's the state's recommendation?
In this case, Your Honor, it occurred on April 10th, 2023 at the Ceviche restaurant located at 963 Canton Street. It's CVICHE. In this instance, Your Honor, this defendant was seen by officers who were sitting in the parking lot, drive into the restaurant Ceviche, striking the building, the metal poles, the tables, and nearly hitting patrons of that restaurant while doing so. The patrons and pedestrians had to run out of the way to avoid being hit by this particular defendant when she ran into the restaurant. She failed to maintain her lane, jumping over the curb and driving into that facility, and crossed over that line, striking those tables, chairs, poles, and everything else related to that restaurant at that time. When officers were able to finally make contact with this defendant, they noticed that she had red glassy eyes and an odor of alcoholic beverage coming from her breath and person with slurred speech. She failed the field sobriety evaluations, but she did take an intoxilizer, and that result was 0.232, which is almost 3 times the legal limit, Your Honor. This offense has some serious concerns for the state because blood alcohol poisoning starts at about 0.3 to 0.4, and this defendant was really close to that level, driving in a motor vehicle, nearly missing patrons of the restaurant when she crashed into it, Your Honor, causing those damages. So we have some concerns given that all these things occurred in front of the officers and striking that particular restaurant and causing those damages and frightening those patrons. I could only imagine how they felt seeing a motor vehicle coming towards them as they were sitting and eating their food, Your Honor. For those reasons, we have concerns about the risk of reoffense, given alcohol was involved, and the potential dangers to not only the people in the community and the patrons of that restaurant, but to herself. Your Honor, as I said, alcoholic poisoning starts at about 0.3, and she was very close to that. So she could have hurt herself. It could have been fatal to anyone around. And we just have those concerns. Given the nature and the severity of offenses, we are aware that this is her first offense, but she kind of jumped into the deep end on this one. So for those reasons, the state is going to be requesting a $10,000 total surety in this case. For the improper lane change, $500 surety. For failure to report striking a fixed object, because she did attempt to drive away after causing this damage and running into that restaurant. And on the DUI per se, $3,500 surety. On the reckless driving, $3,000 surety. On the DUI less safe, $2,500 surety, and that should be a total of a $10,000 total surety. No driving, no alcohol, drugs, weapons, no further violations of Georgia law and an ADET.
All right. Miss Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Wolfer is 26 years old. She was born in Florida. She moved here about 3 months ago because of her job at Salon de Sonia. She's an apprentice there as a cosmetologist, and she has been working there for about 2 months. After graduating high school successfully, she worked at a restaurant, and then she also worked at American Airlines as a flight attendant before this job, Your Honor. So she's not qualified for public defender's service. After this, she will have to hire a private attorney. And I believe her mother is on the line, Karen Wolfer, and maybe she can give some feedbacks. And I believe that this is her first offense. We would like to request for signature on bond for driving, reckless driving, fail to report striking fixed object. And I do understand that DUI rarely gets a signature on bond, so we would like to request for $1,000 maximum good bond for DUI per se and DUI less safe. So total $2,000 good bond, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Did somebody else want to contribute? I see a KW iPhone. Did y'all want to contribute or just remain silent? Ms. Kim, did you say they wanted to say something, or they just want?
No, I think they're just here to support Ms. Wolfer.
All right. Well, the blessing is that this is not a felony case. This could have been a lot more serious, other than just property damage. If individuals had been harmed, we would have been looking in this case in a different court, in a felony court. So, Ms. Wolfer, on the driving improper erratic lane change is going to be $500. The failure to report striking a fixed object is $1,500. The DUI per se is $3,500. reckless driving is 1,500. That and all those ones I just mentioned, the 500, 1,500, 3,500, and 1,500, those are surety bonds. On the DUI less safe, that's a 3,500 signature bond through the jail. Your total bond is 10,500, out of which 3,500 is a signature bond through the jail on the DUI less safe, and the remainder, $7,000 is going to be a surety bond. The conditions of your bond is absolutely no consumption of alcohol, no illegal drugs, and no weapons, no firearms. No driving unless you've got permission for limited driving privileges by the Department of Driver Services. And you are to stay away from this location, the Ceviche restaurant at 960 Canton Street in Rossville, Georgia. Stay at least 200 yards away, which is the length of 2 football fields. So the distance that you have to maintain from that location is pretty lengthy. We will see you in court on April 25th. If you do make bond, we will send you notice for a new court date. Please be sure that your address and your contact information are all true and correct. Thank you.
Just to clarify for the court, Your Honor, the address that we have is 963 Canton Street.
963. So 200 yards away from 963 Canton Street. Thank you.
Your Honor, we don't have a position for the next client. Her name is Escobar Cougar. She was on the pull sheet, but not on the calendar.
Do you have a booking number?
Yes, 230-5490.
90.
And Your Honor, I have a case number.
All right.
We have 23 CR 002225.
All right.
That's interesting. And there's
What is
no
the
letter
alphabet at the end?
there, and that's why I said that's interesting. There is none.
Huh.
Yeah.
What's the case number again?
23 CR 002225.
All right, Miss
it says it-
Escobar, yeah, she got a simple battery, domestic violence, cruelty in the 3rd degree. Are we keeping that? Miss Paul, for the cruelty in the simple battery?
Yes, Your Honor, because there is also a family violence battery charge that we did add.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Can you repeat the charges again so that I could do my paperwork to make sure?
Yeah.
The charges we filed that have a CR number are family violence battery in the 1st degree, simple battery, family violence, and cruelty to children 3rd degree. And sorry, family violence battery, first offense.
And the possession of marijuana and possession use of drug-related objects are NOD?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And the case number is 23 CR 00.
002225. I will say it is showing assigned in the clerk side to Judge Morrison. However, there is not a letter at the end of the
So
case.
that will be
when you
E.
look it up. Yeah.
Okay, so eventually it'll have to be E.
Okay.
All right, and this is Miss, is it Yessie Escobar Puga?
And Judge, I just added the letter, Ms. Falk.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One quick thing, Miss Grace, are they all family violence, the first 2 charges?
They are.
Thank you.
All right, and who is representing her?
I am, Your Honor.
Miss McLeod, have you had a chance to speak to her?
I have, Your Honor.
All right, let's proceed then. This is a newly accused case, 23 CR 002225E, in which Ms. Escobar has been accused of the following offenses: battery, family violence, simple battery, family violence, and cruelty in the 3rd degree, family violence. This is an incident that allegedly occurred on April 10th, 2023, on or about 10:45 a.m. in Fulton County, Georgia. Ms. Escobar, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Maureen McLeod. Mr. Howard, have you had a chance to review her priors?
This is the first arrest.
All right. Ms. Falk, what is your recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. So the reason we added the family violence battery is because Miss Olga Puga Yanez did complain of neck and head pain from the incident that happened with her daughter, the defendant, when the defendant grabbed her from behind and began slamming her head into the headrest as they were arguing about the defendant's parenting style. This was obviously in front of the 7-year-old child, HH, who's the daughter of the defendant, which is where we get the cruelty to children from the 3rd degree. I did also do the simple battery as an alternative charge. And for that reason, the state's recommendation is a $6,000 split bond, which would be $3,000 on the family violence battery, $2,000 signature on the family violence simple battery, and a $1,000 surety on cruelty to children of the 3rd degree. So that would be $4,000 surety bond and $2,000 signature bond. We're also asking for a no further contact with Miss Olga Puga Yanez, and that's Puga Yanez, Olga, common spelling, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, or one-day anger awareness. We did reach out to Miss Olga Puga Yanez, but were unable to reach her based on the numbers and the information that we had from the warrant. So we are, out of an abundance of caution, asking for that no further contact until we can reach out to her. We do not have an address where she resides, so we aren't going to be able to ask for a stay away at this time.
All right. Is the minor child with the grandmother now?
There was no indication
at this moment, Your
sorry.
Honor, but my client needs to go and retrieve her child from her mom.
Okay.
So that is going to have to be arranged somehow.
All right. Ms. McLeod, and what are you recommending?
I'm recommending a signature bond, Your Honor, in an amount that the court deems appropriate. My client is 25 years old. She has no history whatsoever. This is a situation with her mom. They were actually in the car and they got into an argument. She did not slam her mother's head at all. She was behind her mother, and I think she just held on to her hair because she wanted to get her attention. So she did not, the warrants that she slammed her head and all of that, that is an exaggeration based on what my client tells me. My client is okay with no further contact at all with her mom. She actually lives by herself. She does not live with her mom and has not lived with her mom for some time. She is the sole caretaker for her 7-year-old daughter, and she tells me she's also currently pregnant. So we would ask for signature bond, given her the nature of what happened and also the fact that she has no criminal history. Nothing further, Your Honor.
On the battery is going to be $3,000. The simple battery is $2,000, and the cruelty is going to be $2,000. That's going to be a $7,000 signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with Olga Puga Yanez. No further violent contact with the minor child in question, HH. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. And while she is out on a signature bond, she will begin and enroll in a domestic violence intervention program within 60 days of being released. She must show proof that she started those classes within 60 days. She must maintain her current address and phone number with pretrial. And if she gets arrested again or she violates the conditions of the bond, including trying to attempt to communicate with Miss Olga, then there would be, her bond could be revoked and converted to a straight bond or a cash bond. There can be a third-party transfer between Ms. Yanez and the grandmother, Olga, through a third party.
Yes, Your Honor. I think she says her sister may be able to facilitate it. She does have a sister who
All right.
can get the child from mom, but she does need to get her child. And she tells me she also has some stuff that belongs to her child that the mom may have. So she would need an escort to go back.
No, she doesn't need one. She can get her sister to go collect the stuff. If sister's going to facilitate third-party transfer, third-party sister can also get her stuff. She doesn't need to be near mom. I can't recall the last time I grabbed someone's hair to get their attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. And that concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you, Ms. McLeod.
You're welcome. Have a good day, Your Honor.
You too.
Position 1, Mr. Bryant.
We have State versus Victor Bryant, accused of criminal trespass, April 10th, 2023. Case number 23 CR 002219B. Mr. Bryant, you have been accused of criminal trespass on April 10th, 2023. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Miss Wills. Miss Wills, excuse me. Mr. Howard, I understand that okay.
They want to go to breakout for this. I thought I saw that.
That is correct, Your Honor. I had placed that in the chat at the top of the.
Oh, you
calendar.
did? I'm sorry, I forgot.
No, it's absolutely fine. It's a brief breakout, so it's not
Okay.
going to be lengthy.
Let's go ahead. Who else needs to be in a breakout? Miss Wills, Miss Falk, myself.
And if Mr. Howard and Miss Kim could join me, please.
All right.
Okay.
All right. See if everyone's here. Miss Wills, Miss Falk, Mr. Howard. Okay, good. Yes, so let's resume with Victor Bryant. Mr. Bryant, your attorney is Miss Callie Wills, and based on the information set forth, your criminal history record, the bond is going to be set at $1,000. It's a surety bond. Your next court date is April 25th, and the condition to the bond is to not return, stay away from 77 East Andrews Drive in Northwest Atlanta. You have to stay 200 yards away from that location. If you have family or friends who are living there, they can come visit you. You cannot go visit them. Thank you.
What was that bond?
1,000 surety.
Position 3, Mr. Custody.
This is State versus Jacob Castaldi, accused of disorderly conduct and simple battery from January 9th, 2023, case number 23 CR 002221J. And Mr. Castaldi has been advised of his right to remain silent. His attorney will be Ms. Wills. Mr. Howard, I believe. Look at my notes. Okay, this was his second arrest. So, Ms. Falk, what's the recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. And he has, the previous case was a conviction for DUI in 2021. This, and I'm a little bit at a loss of where Mr. Castaldi was from January 9th, 2023 to now. And I'm hoping that PD Wills can kind of fill in some of the blanks here. But the state is, our main concern is that he stay away from Wellstar North, where he was so disruptive that visitors, paramedics, doctors, and patients had to vacate the area. And he was cursing and flailing his arms and ended up striking Dr. Kara Morse as a result of that, which is where the simple battery is coming from. The state is amenable to a $4,000 signature bond on this case, $3,000 for the simple battery, $1,000 for the disorderly, through pretrial services, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We are asking for a BHET just because I'm not 100% clear on how we got to this point. Based on the warrant, it seems like he was having medical emergency or some kind of medical issue and then began acting out during that medical issue. And so the state is inquiring about that. We are also asking that he stay away from Wellstar North unless he is there for medical treatment. That's all.
So he's listed as residentially challenged. And I'm not certain if pretrial is going to work out for that. So let's see, Ms. Wills?
He did provide me with an address when I spoke with him. So that should not be a concern. I would not have any objection to a signature bond for Mr. Castaldi. I would object to the BHET. I was able to speak with him and have a coherent conversation with him. We have no objection to him returning to that location. And so that would be my request of the court.
And Your Honor, the BHET was solely to make sure that he had resources and support before he's released from jail.
Understood. On the disorderly conduct, it's going to be $1,500. The simple battery is going to be $2,500. That's going to be a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial, subject to having a verifiable residential and mailing address. He's to have no contact with Dr. Cora Morris. He's to stay away from 3000 Hospital Boulevard in Roswell, which is the Wellstar North, unless he has a verifiable appointment with a healthcare provider there, or he's seeking emergency treatment. That's the only basis on which he can return to that facility. Otherwise, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms, and he must comply with any treatment and or medication to which he's been prescribed. If he fails to comply, if he gets arrested again, or if he returns to that location without an appointment or without the need for medical treatment, then his bond will be revoked. So it's presently a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial, as long as we have a verifiable mailing address. If we don't, then it will be a surety bond.
Who's gonna verify it?
Ms. Wills, she needs to provide us with a good mailing address.
That's gonna happen before court ends?
Yeah, Ms. Wills, didn't you say you had an address? I'm sorry, you're on mute.
Yes, however, my computer died and deleted my information. Can he please put his address on the record?
Mr. Castaldi, what is your current mailing and residential address?
3329 Old Milton.
Old Milton what?
Parkway, Alpharetta, 30005.
And who lives there?
Me,
And who else?
that's it.
So you rent and own your own property?
No, ma'am. It's a hotel.
It's a hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
What's it called?
Holiday Inn,
Sorry?
Holiday Inn.
Holiday Inn.
Yep.
And this would be per judge.
I have it per judge.
All right. Mr. Castaldi, is that is your current residential and mailing address, and notices are sent out to you there, and you fail to show up in court, a bench warrant will be issued for your arrest. Thank you.
Position 5. Chandler. Chandler?
Lamont Chandler is accused of battery family violence from March 6, 2023. Is that Lamont Chandler? I'm sorry, do we?
Yes.
Now it's Lamont Chandler? Okay.
Yes.
Case number is 23CR 002223Y. The battery family violence incident date is March 6, 2023. Mr. Chandler, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is going to be Ms. Wills. Mr. Toussaint and
I'll defer to the state on this.
all right.
So this is actually the defendant's second open case in our office. He has a 22 CR 001738Y case where he was given a $1,000 surety bond on a battery by Judge Morrow on March. Let me see. He was given that bond in March of 2022. March 8th of 2022 for battery against a different female, Giovanna Baker. He was also given a no further contact and a stay away order. That was when he struck and pushed Miss Giovanna Baker. This incident happened last month, March 6, 2023. So about a year later, he was at 1015 Washington Street, struck Melody Powell, who was a female he was living with at the time, in the face with a cell phone, which caused swelling and a laceration to her mouth. Based on this, there seems to be a really distinct pattern emerging here of violence against women. He has a $1,000 surety bond already for violence against a woman. Then within a year, picks up another case for violence against women. So we do have some serious concerns about his risk of reoffense. We are asking, because of that, for a $5,000 surety bond. We are also asking that he stay away from the address located at 1015 Washington Street Southwest, that he have no further contact with Melody Powell, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We are also asking that he be enrolled at this time in FVIP, so that hopefully that there can be sort of a curbing of this prior to anything else being picked up. The defendant, I will also note, has a lengthy history out of, New Jersey. So he's picked up approximately 12 cycles in New Jersey. And his last cycle notably was a domestic violence case in 2019. So we are seeing, again, a troubling pattern emerging of this defendant's behavior when it comes to women in violence. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Chandler is 44 years old. He adamantly denies the allegations. He states that he does not live with the alleged victim in this case. And he would like to request no further violent contact with her. He states that he works through a temp agency, and so he has limited resources and funds. And so we would request a $5,000 signature on bond. And if not, we would ask for a $2,500 surety bond.
All right, thank you. Bond set at $5,000 is a surety bond. Reset date is 4/25/2023. And we're going to bring both cases to the SAP calendar on the 25th of April, which would be this new case, and as well as 22 CR 001738Y.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next case, please.
Position 4, Mr. Chambers.
Oh, and Mr. Chandler, it's no further contact with Melanie Powell and to stay away from 1015 Washington Street in Southwest Atlanta. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And I'm sorry, Deputy, could you repeat the name?
Position 4, Mr. Chambers.
Okay. Christian Gerard Chambers, that's position 4. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Okay. Accused of giving false information to a law enforcement officer from April 9th, 2023. Accusation number 23 CR 002222Y. And Mr. Chambers, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Miss Wills. And Mr. Howard, from what I know, this was his 4th arrest, open case in Cobb County.
Possession of a Schedule 1, possession of a knife or a firearm during a commission. And he got a Cobb hold.
All right. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. It appears he actually gave the false name of James Walker to the officers, apparently to avoid them learning about the Cobb hold, because once they ran his actual name, they were able to show that he had a warrant outside of Cobb County for an FTA in October of 2022, and he is on hold for that case as well. The defendant otherwise wouldn't have been, other than the outstanding warrant, would not have been arrested for a new charge. He was a passenger in a vehicle that was stopped due to a suspended registration and was one of the members in the car. We addressed another co-defendant yesterday in court. I will say the bond is currently set at $5,000 surety. We are agreeable to reducing that to a $1,000 surety, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and that he be released only to the Cobb hold. That's all for the state.
That co-defendant, other than that co-defendant, does he have any other pending matters in Fulton County?
I do believe he does. Hold on. If Your Honor could just give me a moment to look into that while you address the defense.
Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Chambers is 23 years old, and we would request a signature bond of $1,000. As the state stated, he was a passenger in a vehicle that was being pulled over. He's not guilty of any other alleged crime other than giving false information. So in light of that, we would request a signature bond so that he can be transported to Cobb County and handle his matters there. Thank you.
Ms. Falk, I only see a marijuana case that was closed.
That's what I was about to say. He had a possession of marijuana charge that was later dismissed.
All right. This is going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail with a release to Cobb County or any other law enforcement holds that he presently has. He's not to be released on his own reconnaissance. Thank you.
Position 6, Mr. Irvin.
Mr. Darius Irvin is accused of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, 2 counts, from April 7, 2023. Accusation number is 23 CR 002224A. Mr. Irvin, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your counsel is going to be Ms. Wills. And if I'm not mistaken,
44 total.
okay,
2022, 2023 probation, 2021 probation.
Yeah.
Trespass conviction, 2020 probation. 2020 disorderly conduct conviction, battery conviction from 2020. 2019 probation, simple battery DV, obstruction, sale of marijuana conviction. He got a lot of probation.
See that. All right, thank you. Ms. Falk?
So, Your Honor, let me just start out by saying that this defendant reached out to me through his counsel to try to resolve his cases. He actually has a theft by shoplifting case, 23 CR 002133A. That case was taken out was actually accused 2 days ago and was placed on SEA. And then this case came through because they took out the warrants on this case on the 8th of April. So what happened was kind of he got caught between the two. We would ask that both of these cases be placed on the SAP calendar for Thursday. I have reached out to Mr. Michael Jordan with the clerk's office to see if that's possible and if they can accommodate us so that we can try to resolve both cases with a global resolution. This case essentially happened when they went out to the location at Spring Street and Elm Street in Palmetto. They had heard about a fire being started in that area in the wood line, saw that a fire had been recently put out, ran a check on the defendant who was actually known to them, saw that he had an outstanding warrant, which he does actually have. He's got a hold from Butts County, but we're not sure what the basis of that hold is. And then they tried to place him under arrest. He apparently was holding a dog that he did not want to let go of, and a tussle ensued where he was tased and placed under arrest by the officers. He is currently on $1,000 surety bond. The state is fine with that remaining the same and splitting it between the two obstruction charges. So $500 on each obstruction charge. And again, we are asking that in combination with that theft by shoplifting, which he has a $500 surety bond on, all be placed on SAP on Thursday.
Okay, Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Irvin is 27 years old. Currently, his bond is set at $1,500 and he is unable to make that bond. As the state stated, he is looking to resolve his charges so that he can go on to Butts County. He has 5 children. He is employed as a subcontractor. And so we would request $1,000 surety bond.
Granted, it's $500 on each count. It's going to be $1,000 surety plus the $500 good bond, which I just issued on April 8th. So his total bond on both cases is going to be $1,500. His next court date is April 25th. Well, is that the date we gave him, Ms. Bridgewater? On the 8th as well?
The 8th was on what day last week?
Oh,
It was Saturday.
That would have been a Saturday.
No, the date changed. Do you want me to go ahead and put this one on I believe that would be like the 20th?
Okay, whatever date the previous case got.
Gotcha. Okay.
And just for everybody's clarification, the state is working to try to get this put on this Thursday's calendar so we can just resolve both of his cases as soon as possible.
All right. So right now they're going to be placed on whichever calendar the shoplifting case is on.
Will be the 20th, I believe it is.
Understood.
Subject to whatever magic Ms. Falk works with Mr. Jordan. Okay.
I will try my best.
Thank you, Ms. Falk.
This total bond is $1,000?
This case.
For this case,
Yeah.
yes. So we are moving this case and 23 CR 002133A to April 20th, subject to any changes. Next case, please.
Position 7, Mr. Gibbs.
This is State versus Zion Gibbs, 23 CR 002227Y. Mr. Gibbs is accused of battery from April 24th, 2022. And Mr. Gibbs, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Wills. Mr. Tucson?
First arrest.
First arrest, okay. Ms. Duncan?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident occurred on April 24, 2022 at 502 Prior Street. The victim in this case is Shanique Reed. That's SHANIQUE. Reed, REID. In this instance, officers arrived at that location and they spoke with Ms. Reed, who indicated that her ex had got into an altercation with her and punched her in the face several times with a closed fist, causing her to sustain a black eye. The officer was able to speak with another person by phone, and they indicated that they were there. They heard arguing, I believe, but they didn't see anything else. We were able to speak to the victim in this case. She indicated that they are no longer in a relationship. They did not live together. They don't share any children. That incident location is apparently an Airbnb that she got for her birthday. She stated that they got into an argument and he struck her in the face, causing her to have a black eye. She indicated she hasn't seen or spoken to him, and she doesn't want any contact with this particular defendant. Given that this is a violent injury as alleged, as far as the black eye goes between these parties, we're going to be requesting a $3,000 total surety, no further contact. We're not going to be requesting a stay away because that is an Airbnb. 1-day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. I do not know if Ms. Reed is on the line. However, the state would like the court to sound for her when appropriate.
Ms. Shanique Reed, R-E-I-D. All right, Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Gibbs is 20 years old. He reports that he has been in Georgia for the past 6 years and also states that he was unaware that a warrant was out for his arrest. He stated that he recently missed an interview, or he missed an interview due to his arrest, and he is unemployed currently. He is no longer in a relationship with the alleged victim. They have not had any communication, as Ms. Duncan stated, and he actually requested that he receive anger management. So this is something that he is seeking to not happen again, and he seemed very troubled by the incident.
Okay.
So I would request in light of him not having any history, I would request a signature bond, $3,000 signature bond. And if Your Honor is not amenable to that, I would request $1,000 signature bond.
All right, $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, and he's to have no further contact with Shanique Reed and to stay 200 yards away from her. Do not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner through a phone, third party, in person, on social media, and so forth. And he will report to pretrial every month. And pursuant to his request, I'm going to require him to do 6 anger management classes, and he will begin those classes within 60 days of release. So he will show proof to pretrial that he has begun those classes and is completing it. No alcohol, no weapons, no firearms, and no illegal drugs. His next court date will be sent to him at his current address. And the one we do have is a Abbey Way in Powder Springs. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that the correct address?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
All right, good. Thank you.
Position 9, Mr. Hilton.
James Hilton's accused of battery from February 25th, 2023, accusation number 23 CR 002230Y. Mr. Hilton, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. And we have, let me see, on Hilton, we have the second arrest. The last one was on April 7th. That rings a bell, in Union City. Okay.
Your Honor, in this case, as I updated the court before Your Honor took the bench, it's been updated. There's been an amended accusation filed under this case number and an additional charge. It's been updated to battery, family violence, and cruelty to children in the third. So that counts for this defendant.
All right. So the simple the battery has been amended to battery, family violence, and the state has added an additional charge of cruelty in the third degree.
Yes.
And together, this is from the warrant itself.
Yes.
Okay. And what is your bond recommendation? He's got this will be his second arrest.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on February 26, 2023 at 495 Ankara Court. That's Ankara Court in South Fulton. The victim in this case is Mia Davis, who is a parent of the same child as the defendant. The other victim is the minor child, PH. In this instance, the police report indicates that the defendant and Ms. Davis were in an altercation, and it was said that she does not live with him. However, they do share a child. And during that altercation, she stated to officers in the report that he kept pushing her into the wall, causing bruising on her chest and right arm. The officer on scene looked at her arm and noticed the bruises, And then it was noticed and told to officers that this incident did occur in front of their minor child, PH. There was a third party on scene who informed officers that the defendant had been being disrespectful towards her and Miss Davis. The third party was Janine Shannon, Jeannaine, Shannon, Shannon. She didn't see the altercation between the defendant and this victim. However, she is the one that called 911 and he left the location. Your Honor, given that they share a child together, we do have some concerns about the risk of reoffense and possible danger to this individual witness and the possible intimidation factor, given that relationship between the parties. We attempted to make contact with Ms. Davis today. However, we were not able to make contact with her. Given the nature of the offenses alleged, we're going to be requesting a $4,500 total surety, $3,500 on the battery family violence, and $1,000 on the cruelty to children in the third. No further contact with Mia Davis. Third party child contact, 1 day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. Given that this defendant, this is a violent offense alleged to have occurred against his child's mother, and the possible open case from Union City isn't a fray as well. We do have those concerns about the risk of reoffense. And even though we were not able to make contact, we would like the court to sound for Ms. Davis at the appropriate time in case she may be here.
All right, Miss Mia Davis. All right, Miss Kim, would you like to
Yes,
proceed?
Your Honor. Yes, I tried to contact Mia Davis as well, but I could not contact her. They actually still live together, Your Honor, and they have not had any incident whatsoever. Date of offense was February 25, which was about 2 months ago, and they are still in a good relationship, Your Honor. My client denies the allegation. He did not hit. There was no physical altercation, Your Honor. It was Miss Shannon who only heard, who did not see anything. She probably made a mistake. Your Honor, we would like to request for signature on bond, and yet we understand if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, we would like to request for maximum 1,000 good bond. He has been gainfully employed as a forklift certified person, and also right now he is always working at Warner as a truck driver. He has gone to Atlanta Tech School for certification, Your Honor. He has been here in Georgia for about 4 years, and his mother's here, his grandmother's here, and he has a strong ties to the community.
All right.
And Your Honor, I just want to clarify quickly for the record, the police report does indicate, as I previously stated, that the parties don't live together at that location. She indicated she lived with her father in Gwinnett. However, they do share a child together. And she reported this incident to the officers once they arrived after Miss Shannon called the police.
Okay, but that was back in February, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there Mia Davis on the call, on the Zoom? No? Okay. On the battery family violence, that's going to be a $2,500 surety bond. On the cruelty in the third degree, that's going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail. The total bond is going to be $3,500. That's going to be a split bond. And this is going to be through pretrial services. So Mr. Hilton won't have to pay for it at the present time, but he'll need to comply with the conditions. The first condition is no further contact with Mia Davis. You have to stay 200 yards away from her. You're not to communicate with her. And if you are both presently living together, then upon your release, you need to vacate and find a different place to live. You have 30 days to update the court with your new address. Now, with regards to the child PH, I will allow for third-party transfer of the child, which means there needs to be a third party in order for you to pick up and drop off the child. Miss Davis won't be able to do the pick up and drop off. The next court date will be sent to your new address whenever you update us with your new address. If you have personal belongings at any property that you share with Miss Davis, you're allowed a one-time escort with a police officer to go and retrieve your belongings. That visit cannot exceed 1 hour.
I thought I heard like 2 bonds. What was it?
Yeah, I'm confused too. I was under the impression that the battery was a $2,500 surety bond.
Or did I say surety? I'm so sorry. I meant signature bond through pre-trial.
So the battery and the cruelty.
The cruelty is a signature bond through the jail. It's a split bond. I can make it both under pre-trial. That's
Yeah,
fine.
might as well.
Yeah, that would
Okay.
be,
That's fine.
okay, so both through pretrial.
Yeah.
3,500.
And just to clarify, Your Honor, the state was not requesting a stay away in this case.
No, I understand. I'm doing a stay away because I got some information that apparently they're living together now, so they can't.
Got it.
So sorry, did I say surety? I meant signature bond through the pre-trial. Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, again, we just would object to the signature and the battery family violence.
Understood. Got it. Thank you. All right.
Excuse me,
Mr. Unless this is directly related to your bond, you have a signature on bond, please do not say anything. You have a right to remain silent. Thank you.
Do you have a question about your bond?
no, it wasn't. It was about my current address. The address 495 where the incident took place, that is my current mailing and notifying address. That's
Who
my-
lives there?
Me. She currently lives there. Not non-related to the incident, but she's currently not there.
All I've said is that you cannot live together.
Oh, yes, I understand.
So if you live at 495 and she doesn't, then you can return to that property.
Okay,
But
yes,
if she's living there, you have to stay 200 yards away from her.
yes, I understand.
But if you are both together and the police show up, then that's all on you.
Yes,
All right. Next, make sure we have a current address and your next court date will be sent to that. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Position 12, Mr. Mack.
Okay, we have Brandon Mack accused of battery from April 10, 2023. Case number 23 CR 002234E. Mr. Mack, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim.
This 8th arrest,
Yeah,
2022 battery, criminal damage to property, theft by taking, it was closed. 2021 failure to appear, 2019 theft by conversion, 2017 reckless driving conviction, 2012 suspended license.
the 2022 battery case is from Clayton County, not Fulton, correct?
That's what I was told.
Okay.
And-
Anything else?
And a 2011 entering premises after warning conviction. I think that was in South Carolina,
All right.
2011.
Ms. Duncan?
This defendant also has a dormant bench warrant case 20 CR 004569E. It's theft by conversion and theft by taking. It was out on a $2,500 surety bond. I did see also that this defendant is, I think that may be this warrant, so I saw a hold, but I think that's this warrant. In this case, it did occur on April 10th, 2023 at about 1:59 a.m. The defendant went to the location of 634 Whitehall Street Southwest. When I Googled it, there were several establishments near or at that location, so I'm not sure which one it actually took place at. However, he went to that location. He encountered the victim in this case, Mr. Aquinas Morrison. That's AQUANNUS Morrison. And Mr. Morrison indicated to the defendant that he was not welcome at the establishment. And he stated to officers that at that time, when he told him he was no longer welcome, he assaulted him by striking him with a closed fist in the face and pulling his hair. As a result of the defendant pulling his hair, it was indicated to officers that some of the victim's hair came out in this instance, Your Honor. We have concerns about the risk of reoffense, given that this defendant does have previous violent arrests. We have concerns about flight risk, given that we did see a 2023 FTA as well as a possible hold for this defendant and the likelihood to respond to legal processes, given that this defendant does have some criminal history. For those reasons, Your Honor, we would be requesting a $3,500 surety. In this case, no further contact with the victim. In this case, stay away from the incident location. 1-day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. We would like the court to sound for the victim in this case when appropriate.
Mr. Morrison? No. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Mack is 29 years old. Yes, he was born in South Carolina, but he moved here 2016. So he's been here about 7 years, Your Honor. And he has been gainfully employed as a manager at Wingstop restaurants. He's been working there continuously for the last 2 years. He is completely okay with no further contact with Morrison, and stay away from him is not a problem. They do not live at 634 Whitehall Street anymore. They don't live together and they have not done so anyway. We would like to request for a signature on bond. And yet, if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, we would like to request for $1,000 good bond, and failure to appear, I think it already has a $1,000 set. And he is entitled to go to East Point, Georgia, which is Warren County. So he's not a flight risk. He cannot go any other place other than East Point, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. On the battery charge, the bonds can be set at $1,500. It's going to be a surety bond with no further contact with Aquinas Morrison, no illegal drugs, alcohol, weapon. Case is reset to April 25th, along with 20 CR 0045, I think it was 569E.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right. Thank
Would
you.
Your Honor also be inclined to add a stay away from the incident location?
No, we're just going to keep it at no further contact.
Thank you.
Position 1414, Mr. Smith.
This is Paul Smith, accused of loitering and prowling and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer from April 10th, 2023. Case number 23 CR 002235F. Mr. Smith, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. All right, there are 71 arrests on his record. Ms. Duncan, what's your recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on yesterday at 589 Elmwood Drive Northeast at about 7:33 in the morning. The victim, at least one of the victims in this case, is a Mr. Itmar Kimchi, that's Itamar, last name Kimchi. It's indicated that on that date previously stated, this defendant was seen on the balcony of this property trying to enter the home. It's notated that this defendant does not live at that property. When officers approached and asked what he was doing, he told officers that he lives there, when in fact the victim in this case was home at the time of this incident, and he saw that this defendant was at his balcony door attempting to break in, so he dialed 911. Once the defendant was placed into custody, he didn't have any ID on him and would not tell officers his name and date of birth. Eventually, they were attempting to take him to the public annex building to be fingerprinted. He became irate and began resisting arrest for a long amount of time, given he had to be carried in to the fingerprint facility, and then further continued to resist not being fingerprinted, and he had to be taken down and fingerprinted on the ground to obtain his official identity. For those reasons, Your Honor, the state is going to be concerned about the risk of reoffense in this case, as he does have a lengthy criminal history, 71 cycles, and several violent convictions, as well as probation violations in recent years, and several holds currently on his case. For those reasons, we are concerned about his likelihood of response to the legal process in a positive manner. Therefore, we believe a $2,500 total surety is appropriate in this case. That's $2,000 on the load of prowl and $500 on the willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. No further contact with the victims in this case. Stay away from the incident location as previously stated on the record. No alcohol, drugs, weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. We did in fact get a chance to speak to the victim in this case. He indicated that he would not be on Zoom. He does not know this defendant. He saw him outside of his back deck door, which is in the entryway of the front of the house, apparently, and he called 911. He indicated to our victim advocate that he wants no contact and to stay away from his home. However, given what he did state, we still would like to sound for him just in case he changed his mind and is on the Zoom.
Could you please sound up for him?
Mr. Kimchi, Mr. Itmar Kimchi, if you're on the line, this is your time to speak to the court.
Right. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Smith is 37 years old. He was born in New Hampshire, but he has been here in Georgia. He, after a freshman in college, he worked at moving company. However, at this point, he has no employment, so he has no financial means to pay for any bond. So he is qualified for public defender services. So our team will be continuously representing him. He's been residentially challenged, so we will be asking social worker to provide housing resources, and he does not have a phone number, and yet his sister was available to answer the phone. We would like to request for signature on bond, and yet if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond because of 71 cycles, we would like to request for $1,000 maximum good bond. Thank you.
All right, bond is going to be set at $750 on the loitering and prowling, $500 on the willful obstruction. That's a $1,250 good bond to stay away from the incident location and have no contact with Mr. Kimchi. Next court date's April 25th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
What's the next court case?
Excuse me, 1 second, Judge. One second.
Hello,
Mr. Smith, please.
Will you
have a
repeat that bond amount again?
yes, please.
It's $750 on the loitering and prowling and $500 on the willful obstruction.
Thank you.
It's a surety bond.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You can put your hand down.
Thank you, Your Honor. So on the incident, I understand I understand he was afraid. I went up to the door, knocked on the door, sat down and sat there. I know we're not, Ms. Kim, please. I know we're not trying the case right now, but this matter was not an aggression matter. This matter was just me knocking on the door and sitting down. I was confused. I was on drugs at the time. I was confused. I was sitting down. So that when the police showed up and the police saw me sitting there at the table, not doing anything other than that. The police found drug paraphernalia at the scene. They found a needle and they found an empty baggie. Also,
Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith, stop.
The main effort,
What is the point?
About Marietta. Nothing.
What are you asking me to do? What are you asking me to do?
Cash or surety bond, so I can be taken to Marietta to take care of those issues. I have another issue in Marietta, also in Cobb County. So okay. I will be stationed there, taking care of those things instead of just staying here and having that stuff drug out. That stuff was not brought up. No one brought that stuff up.
All right. Let me just go over my decision-making process. You seem to be a frequent flyer on your arrest record. So the bond is very low in light of the fact that you have a very difficult time avoiding being arrested. No. Now it's my turn. You have a very difficult time avoiding being arrested. We call that recidivism. And your bond reflects that. Thank you.
Georgia alone, how many times have I been arrested?
Understood.
in Georgia.
Next case, please.
We're done, Judge.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't have nothing else.
Well, Your Honor, Miss Melanie Miss
Yes.
Melanie Camden actually joined the call. If we could hear from her in regards to.
All right. Yes, I did say I was going to go over that, so give me a moment. Give me a moment.
And I'm here as well, Edward Camden.
All right, great, thank you. Victor Bryant, position number 1 is $1,000 surety bond, reset dates April 25th. Position 3 is a 4,000 signature bond through pretrial. And that's going to be further notice. Did I say 4,000? I think I meant 7,000.
No,
Yeah,
it's
4,000.
4,000.
4,000. Okay.
Per judge.
Per
Per
judge.
judge, absolutely.
Yes. That's Mr. Castaldi, right. Christian Chambers is $1,000 signature bond through the jail and a release only to the Cobb County holds or any other judicial or law enforcement hold he has.
Okay.
Position 5, Chandler is a $5,000 surety bond. Reset dates April 25th. Position 6, Urban is a $500 good bond along with this other case, and reset date is April 20th. Zion Gibbs is a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. Gilmore is going to be reset to tomorrow, April 12th, by which time DFAX has to have picked her up. As I said, Ms. Wills, let me know if you need a court order to address that.
Yes, ma'am.
Position 9, James Hilton is a signature bond through pretrial, and I believe it was a $3,500 signature bond through pretrial.
Yeah.
Correct.
Position 10 is Jefferson is a $2,500 surety bond, reset dates April 25th. Position 11 is Sydney Johnson, and that is going to be a, was it a
7,500, right?
7,500? And that's going to be a surety, a signature bond through pretrial. We're going to allow for telephonic reporting.
I'm gonna send you the waiver.
And yeah, have you sent it?
Not yet.
Okay. And that's for Ivan Johnson or Ivan Johnson, however he addresses himself. Brandon Mack is a $1,500 surety bond, and we will have a reset date to April 25th, along with this other case. Gabriel Parks, what's going on?
She said it was a bind over. Should have been SAP.
Yes, that case was scheduled as a bind over yesterday. However, it was accused this morning, given that court ran long yesterday. He did have an active case on yesterday's calendar, but he was also sent over with a bind over, and the bind over was accused this morning.
So when is he going to be addressed? Tomorrow?
No, the bind over already has a bond. It's supposed to go straight to SAP.
All right.
And he has a bond in the case that was on yesterday's calendar. So I can't remember if it was signature or surety. However, he'll be at the appropriate hearing when it's time, according to him.
And he was accused today.
The bind over, yes.
Okay. So Gabriel Parks is going to be further notice to April 25th, pending his release on bond. Paul Smith is a $1,250 good bond with conditions. Position 15 is a $10,500 split bond. Reset dates April 25th. All right.
And the add-on was 7,000.
Oh, add-on, Miss Escobar. Yes, Miss Escobar is a that was a $7,000 signature bond through pretrial.
What is the breakdown for Escobar?
Family violence battery is 3,000, and the remaining 2 charges are 2,000 each. Okay, thank you. Going back to Ella Camden. So presently she's got a $2,000 surety bond with a reset date of April 25th. All right.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, this is Edward Camden, the father.
All right, you need to have your video on. Anyone who addresses the these proceedings, we need a video on.
Oh, yes, Your Honor. There you go.
No, I can't see you.
You can't see me.
No,
Okay.
While we're waiting for Mr. Camden you may have to leave the Zoom and come back in if your video has not been enabled. Miss Melanie Camden. Or
Yes, Your
Melanie,
Honor.
what's your last name, Miss?
Camden.
All right. Yes, you need your video on as well.
I'm sorry, I was in carpool. I'm trying to figure this out.
Judge, while they're figuring it out, I just want to make sure for clarity. Position number 6, Mr. Darius Irvin.
Yeah.
We're resetting that with his other case to the SAP calendar for April the 20th.
Correct.
Okay, very good.
And the other case is a bench warrant, so there must be an underlying case to that too.
Okay.
It must be an FTA case or something to that effect.
No problem.
All right. Anyone else is not? Oh, there we go. Miss Melanie Camden is on. Miss Camden, are you driving?
Yes, I pulled over. Yeah, I had to get a carpool.
Have you pulled over?
I am, yes.
Okay. And if you'd like to raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Wills, that's your client, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Courtroom 2 is already closed, and I think they are just bringing everybody back. So do you have any objection with your client not being present?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So presently, Miss Camden, Edward Camden is the alleged victim in this case. Apparently,
it looks like we lost her, Your Honor.
My goodness. Edward Camden, have you got your video all set up?
Ma'am, I'm not able to get the video going, Your Honor. I apologize.
Well,
I'm trying my best, Your Honor. I apologize.
Okay.
I would just ask for a signature bond. Hold on, here we go. From my daughter.
Okay, raise your right. We just saw it. There we go.
Yeah.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
So why would you be comfortable with her coming back home?
Well, I'm not threatened by her or concerned about her being dangerous to me. We love our daughter very much, and she was upset about losing car privileges, and she acted out. I feel like she understands what's going on, and that she could just understand that her choices led her there. And I'd like to ask for a signature bond as well. She's a good girl. She's a 3.0 student, and she's not had any priors.
All right, thank you. Miss Melanie Camden, you're back on. You've already been sworn. And do you have anything else to add?
No. No, I agree with him.
All right. Miss, was it Miss Duncan or Miss Falk? I think it was Miss Falk who was, or Miss Duncan, do you want to chime in?
Yes, it was Deputy Falk's case. So I'm not as familiar with what was going on. Was the point of contention determining where she needed to go, since Your Honor had ordered a no further contact?
The allegation was that Ella Camden was communicating with Mr. Edward Camden and still issuing threats and yelling at him from the jail.
Okay, one moment. I am corresponding with Ms. Falk to see if she wants me to say anything in particular. She did have to step away.
And I'm here, Your Honor, as a supervisor stepping in for Ms. Falk. I mean, obviously, the state's position is that The parents in this situation are not in the best position to determine whether or not their daughter is a threat to them, because these relationships are close and long lasting. And that's the nature of domestic violence. This is a cycle. These people called the police because they needed help. There was violence in the home. And you see, I guess, what has been presented to Your Honor during this hearing, that this young woman is communicating threats from the jail at this point. And so we are concerned with her ability to follow through with the court order. She's not going to follow with, normal rules in the home. She's going to be violent towards her parents. The police have to be called. And now, while on the phone, being interrupted by someone on a recording saying that these calls are being recorded, you are not in a private environment, she is communicating and not following through with the things that are required of her.
Your Honor, if I could say, I fully understand what was just said. That was yesterday. This morning, she was much different and was remorseful and sincere. So I think that was her initial reaction to the events that took place, and the unfortunate, unfortunately having to call the police.
Miss Allen, anything else to add? Ms. Wills?
No, Your Honor. We would just say that there are concerns, and it's victims in cases like this aren't in the best position to determine whether someone is a risk to them.
True, but given the age of the alleged victim and the infrequency, and this is a first arrest, I'm going to amend it to a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services. I would need Miss Melanie Camden to come down to pretrial and co-sign the bond. We will waive the utility requirement. Mrs. Camden, not Mr. Edward Camden, but Miss Melanie Camden will have to come down and co-sign the bond in order for her to be released from jail. So
Yes, Your Honor.
the length of time she stays in the jail will determine on how fast you come down and co-sign the bond.
Got it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
She's to have no further violent contact with Edward Camden, as well as any other occupants of the home at 359 Cable Road. If there are any future verbal or physical altercations that result in the law enforcement being involved, the $5,000 signature bond will be revoked, and she may face a felony charge for violation of a no further violent contact. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
While she is out on a signature bond, she will enroll and begin with a domestic violence intervention program. She must enroll in those classes within 60 days of being released.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
You can find qualified family violence. It's called FVIP, FVIP, or DVIP programs. You can find many schools offering them in various vicinities. And she needs to attend and complete those classes while she's out. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons or firearms. No driving unless she has the parents' express permission to do so. So both of you figure it out.
Yes, Your Honor.
You waiving?
Yes. Next court date will be sent to her address, and she will need to appear. Otherwise, a bench warrant will issue for her arrest.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Tell the mother to stand by for the address.
All right. Miss Camden, Mr.
Yes.
Tupan, yeah, he's going to send you the address where you need to appear to bring your to co-sign the bond. Make sure you bring
Okay.
your driver's license and so forth.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, that concludes the calendar. Anything else, folks? No? All right, we're good. Miss Bridgewater, we amended that Camden bond, so.
I'm doing it right now.
All right, thank you. We'll talk to everyone tomorrow then.
I'm about to send you the
Have a good
waivers.
evening.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'll look for it. Thank you.
Hold on before you kick out, Melissa. Hold on. I gotta send this check.
Are you texting me?
I'm about to put it in the chat now.
Okay. Door shut. Shut your door, please. I gotta go. It's your door, Edward. Thank you.
I just sent.
Okay, thank you.
Make sure you have valid ID when you go.
All right, is that all I need? Just that?
Yeah, in case you get lost, I'm gonna give you the number to there.
Yes, please.
You gotta be there by 11 o'clock.
I'll be there.
Okay, that's it.
I'm dropping my sons off and heading down.
Bye.
It's in my text. Stop. Please just stop. It's okay. Sorry. Was that sent to me? Is it already sent? Okay.